The seventh chapter of this book is dedicated to Al-Andalus, one of the favorite moments in Islamic history for a lot of Muslims, yet most of us know very little about what actually happened in there. So for about 400 years before the Muslims arrived, the local people, which I call the Iberians, because they were on the Iberian Peninsula, they were ruled by barbarians from the north, called the Visigoths. And because of this dynamic, the fact that they were being oppressed by a foreign, unpopular ruling kingdom, this meant that when the Muslims came under Tariq ibn Ziyad, and of course then backed up by Musa ibn Nusayr, when they took the peninsula, they took it and they conquered it with very little local resistance. It was almost as if the Iberian people were happy that Tariq had come and kicked out the Visigoths so they wouldn't have to face the oppression from those foreigners anymore. It was really only the Visigoths that fought, and after the Battle of Guadalete, they all fell apart. The Muslims even chased the Visigoths up into the southern part of France, where they took control of the region for something like 100 years. And fun fact, there was later a small territory that was still ruled by a family of Visigoths up in north of Spain. These Visigoths actually converted to Islam, and they ruled a small kingdom separately from the rest of Al-Andalus. So I have a small section on this chapter just about them. Anyway, Al-Andalus was originally a province of the Umayyads, but after the Umayyads fell and the Abbasids came and tried to kill them all, this particular prince, he fled to Al-Andalus and he revived his dynasty there, making Al-Andalus sort of like an Umayyads 2.0. And here you had a lot of cultural development and scientific achievements. You had a lot of famous scientists and thinkers and doctors and scholars all coming from this region at this time. And this dynasty, even it lasted for a long time, but eventually, of course, infighting happened. And then the Franks from France, they began to invade from the north into the peninsula, and many of the Muslims, unfortunately, some of the Muslim kingdoms that were split up, they sided with those Franks against other Muslim kingdoms. So slowly the Franks, they began to expand into the northern part of Spain and Portugal, modern-day Spain and Portugal, and they conquered it for themselves. And by the way, this was not a reconquest or reconquista, as a lot of modern propaganda shows. These Franks from France, yes, they were Christian people, but they had no connection to the peninsula whatsoever. They had no connection to that land. They had never been there before. They were not from the local Iberians, who may have been majority Muslim by now, by the way. And they were also not from the old Visigoths who had ruled. Rather, the Visigoths had gone extinct by now. This idea of a reconquest of Al-Andalus by the Christians, it's just modern propaganda. Rather, it was just the Franks, they were taking advantage of the Muslims' division and infighting, and nothing more. But eventually a man named Yusuf ibn Tashfin came from Morocco, and he conquered all of these divided and infighting Muslim lands of Al-Andalus, and he reunited them. But of course, this union was only temporary, and eventually division and losses continued. There was a second invasion by the Moroccans to reunite them again, but pretty much the same thing happened again. And eventually Granada became the last remaining Muslim city in Al-Andalus, all the way in the south, but this too, of course, was eventually conquered as well. Muslims then continued living in Iberia for another 100 years, though they were forced to convert to Christianity publicly and keep their Islam private. But after 100 years, everyone who came from an originally Muslim family was then expelled. And Islam in Spain and Portugal was erased from Iberian society completely. Al-Andalus definitely holds a special place in the hearts of Muslims all around the world, and its legacy is so much larger than just the surface level that people know. And so I go a lot into detail. I go into a lot of detail on all of these different struggles and these different times. And I go even into detail on the different fatwas that were made from scholars who were trying to help Muslims understand how they should live their lives, how they should practice their Islam in secret when the Catholics came and took over. So if you're interested in the book, go to my website and pre-order the book now. I will literally write your name into the book, as an honor for you being one of the original backers of this project. But this is only for the people that pre-ordered the book during this Ramadan only. May Allah grant your name a legacy that the ummah will never forget. And may the generations of people who read this book hundreds of years from now know that it was you who was even the reason that this book could exist in the first place. Ameen.